Chapter 270, Titan Firmament Breaker and Blue Sky Slowing Blood Claw, TL by Bagelson. Tang San still stood there, without being smashed to a pulp like he imagined, but the seventh elder was instead blasted away, violently spinning several turns in midair before landing far away. Once his feet were on the ground, he still retreated several steps before forcefully catching his balance. His arms were clearly trembling. The mountaintop was completely silent, save for the echoes of that explosion in the mountains. Who could have imagined this result? Tang San stood tall on the mountaintop, the sea god trident in his hands, looking disdainfully at the world below. The eyes of the four elders led by the second elder all opened wide. They were basically unable to believe this was real, even if the seventh elder didn't use any spirit abilities in that attack just now. As a tidal Douluo, the weight of the clear sky hammer already surpassed 5,000 jin. Swung with such momentum, the power it held could be well imagined. By swinging it downwards, he also held another major advantage. But Tang San still blocked his attack like that, and still forcibly blasted back the seventh elder. Of course, what was most incomprehensible was still Tang San's physique without even releasing his spirit. Tang San raised the sea god trident, heavily stamping the ground. Instantly, an explosive sound reverberated once again, and the entire clear sky school's fortress shook under this one strike. One enormous crack after another spreading out from below Tang San's feet. Even a power like Tang Jia felt his footing was a bit unstable. The reason Tang San could block the seventh elder's attack without releasing his spirit like this was admittedly because of the sea god trident's might, but it was equally also because his current body was already strong to an extremely terrifying degree. After obtaining the spirit rings and spirit bones of the Titan giant ape and the sky blue bull python, whether strength or physical toughness, Tang San could be said to have improved to a frightening level. Starting from when his skin turned gold, his body was no longer completely on a human level. As a result, even the seventh elder's formidable strength couldn't harm Tang San without actually using spirit abilities. Am I qualified to discuss with the elders now? Tang San said flatly. The second elder said sternly. Tang San, have you returned to the sect in order to provoke it? Even if you have a bit of strength, what crime is it to disrespect the elders and protest the sect? Tang San said coldly. I haven't disrespected the elders, nor protested to you. I only want justice for my father. You were the first to attack. I only defended myself. Good Tang San, I want to see just to what level you have cultivated. Being beaten back once again, the seventh elder couldn't keep the anger from attacking his heart. Only, after this collision, he had also sufficiently understood how difficult Tang San was to deal with, especially that trident he held. Black light surged, and the clear sky hammer suddenly grew larger, separating both hands. He was already using his two spirit abilities, holding one spirit avatar state clear sky hammer in each hand. He was about to launch his second attack. Finally, at this moment, even Tang Jia was powerless to stop the elders. Tang San's display was too arrogant. By now, the sound of the violent collision as well as Tang San shaking the ground had already alarmed the entire sect, and large numbers of Clear Sky School disciples were rushing out from the sect, standing behind the elders and looking astonished at Tang San holding a polearm horizontally on the mountaintop. Wait! Tang San shouted, halting the seventh elder's movements. The second elder spoke in a deep voice. What else do you have to say? Tang San said calmly. All elders presumable already treat me as a rebel to the sect. If, in this battle, I win, I hope all elders and clansmen can hear my explanation for my father's actions back then. The second elders said angrily. Even if you beat seventh, you're still not qualified. Seventh, grab him. Or do you want a third repetition? The seventh elder's heart was now already aflame. His face couldn't stand being beaten back by a 20-something third-generation disciple twice in succession. With an angry roar, the clear sky hammer avatar in his left hand already flew towards Tang San. Tang San still didn't consider releasing his spirit. Holding the sea god trident in his left hand, he suddenly took a step forward. His left hand formed a fist, directly punching at that clear sky avatar head-on. A ball of yellow light condensed on his left fist, and around that yellow light, spacing to form an enormous distorted whirlpool, as if the atmosphere was instantly compressed by this frightening light. Everyone felt the air around them grow heavy. The next moment, Tang San's left fist already stiffly met the seventh elder's clear sky avatar. An enormous yellow pillar of light exploded from within Tang San's left fist, suddenly colliding with the clear sky avatar. An even more intense explosion than when hammer struck polearm before reverberated. The seventh elder's expression changed, and the other clear sky avatar in his hand also flew out. The two hammers united, spitting out two strands of frightening black light, and then managed to just resist the pressure the weight of Mount Tai. Only, that dark yellow light still advanced step by step, forcing the seventh elder to retreat repeatedly. Whether because of shame or anger, or because of the enormous pressure he faced, his face was already gradually turning purple. The other four elders' expressions immediately grew even uglier. The Clear Sky School's people also watched dumbstruck. Very clearly, Tang San didn't use the capabilities of his spirits. This should probably be a spirit bone ability, but what kind of terrifying strength could force back the seventh elder's twin spirit avatar with just a spirit bone ability? Oppressed the whole way, the seventh elder retreated more than 30 meters. Tang San sharply raised his left hand, and those two clear sky avatars soared up along with the yellow light shooting from Tang San's hand. A violent explosion resounded in midair, and the two spirit avatars actually lost the black light they were emanating and fell downwards. The seventh elder hastily recalled them, saving his clear sky hammer from being broken. It wasn't that the clear sky hammer was fragile, but rather that the attack Tang San issued was too strong. His left arm spirit bone was given by the Titan giant ape, called the Titan giant ape left arm bone. This spirit bone assigned him two great abilities, one of which was gravity control, and the other was the one he used now, Titan Firmament cannon. The Titan Firmament cannon exploited the gravitational control to instantly compress the air into a terrifying energy, bestowing an attack launched with the full strength of the Titan giant ape. Its power was enough to match the ninth spirit ability of ordinary tidal Douluo. Tang San was already holding back here. When his left hand launched this cannon, it finally erupted in midair. Otherwise, the seventh elder wouldn't just have retreated 30 meters, being beaten back 3 times, without even using his spirit. This time, besides anger, the seventh elder couldn't help feeling fear. This Tang San's strength was already something he couldn't comprehend. How? Tang San gazed at Tang Xiao and the second elder, speaking flatly. Defeating the seventh elder really can't prove anything. Therefore, I wish to challenge all the 5 elders. If I defeat you, then I should be entitled to speak. Little San. Even Tang Xiao, hearing Tang San say so, couldn't help being alarmed. Alone challenging the Clear Sky School's 5 great elders, even as the strongest in the sect, he didn't have absolute certainty to succeed. Even though the 5 elders had all reached tidal Douluo strength late in life, and their spirit rings also weren't extremely formidable, they were still tidal Douluo, even more when they all had the Clear Sky hammer. Tang San's words really were too arrogant. It was simply a naked provocation to the 5 elders. The elders' faces quickly turned white. Tang San of course had his own reasons for doing this. He'd never been an impetuous person. The reason why he didn't bring out his great-grandfather's token was because he knew that even with it in hand, without enough strength, would these elders listen to him? Would they return his father's 2 spirit bones? That was of course impossible. Even though his uncle protected him, he could hear from his previous words that he also believed his father was wrong back then. Under such circumstances, Tang San had no choice but to use this kind of method. In the Spirit Master world, strength was always king. Tang San would rely on his own strength to subdue all the disciples of the sect, including his uncle Tang Xiao. Only this way could he make people believe what he said, and truly have a chance to give his father justice. Even if this was all accomplished with violence, it was also the method that saved the most time. Tang San had never planned on letting his father stay in the Clear Sky School, nor did he hope the Clear Sky School would help him in the future battle with the Spirit Empire. Consequently, he would reach his goals with the weight of thunder. The second elder slowly walked forward, the other 3 elders following behind him. Each step he took seemed especially heavy, and as he walked forward, one spirit ring after another was released. Tang San challenged their authority, even though it was 5 against 1 absolutely wasn't honorable, judging by the methods with which Tang San answered the seventh elder's attacks. They really might not be the opponents if they fought alone. At this moment, these elders' feelings were extremely complex. Not only had Tang San provoked their anger, they were even more astonished. 5 years had passed, and even though they didn't know what Tang San had experienced, they could still clearly sense that Tang San had transformed. The seventh elder also returned to the elders' formation, taking up the rear. Even though his complexion was ugly, his eyes were exceptionally dignified. This battle was extremely important to the 5 elders, even though they never thought they could lose. Even winning was absolutely disgraceful. Tang San had the courage to challenge their authority, and dealing with Tang San was also a major headache. After all, as a disciple of the sect, the level of strength he possessed was of utmost importance to the entire Clear Sky School. Facing the enormous Facing the enormous pressure from the 5 elders simultaneously approaching, Tang San's face also grew serious. Even though this time he only faced 5 title Douluo, he understood that this battle absolutely wasn't any easier than facing BB Dong's 6 title Douluo back then. Relying on the Sect's clear sky hammer, these 5 elders were absolutely stronger than BB Dong's 6 title Douluo that day. Moreover, that day his goal was just to save the 2 forest kings. As long as he escaped, he won. But what he had to do today was defeat the 5 elders. Eyes radiant, Tang San finally released his spirit, the Blue Silver Emperor. Instantly, a halo of golden blue light burst out from him. Countless rays of golden blue light making the air twist. The sea god trident held in his right hand was completely bathed in that golden blue light. Even though he faced a torrent of pressure, he still didn't have the slightest fear. One spirit ring after another rose from below, and with each spirit ring that appeared, his presence grew a bit bigger. Vaguely, he actually competed as an equal with the pressure of the 5 elders. The 5 elders stopped practically simultaneously, seeing Tang San's spirit rings appear one after another. They were basically unable to hide the shock they felt. Black, 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 red, black, red, red, red. 9 spirit rings silently floated around Tang San. At this moment, even though there were several hundred people in front of the clear sky school gate, the mountaintop was still completely silent. Of the 3 requirements the 5 elders raised back then, the coloration of Tang San's current spirit rings already answered at least 2. A full 400,000-year spirit rings sparkled with dazzling red light. 9 spirit rings meant Tang San had title Douluo level strength just like them. Those all over 10,000-year level spirit rings told them how Tang San had become so strong, even though Tang San still hadn't taken out proof that he had killed a spirit whole title Douluo. At this moment, whether Tang Xiao or the 5 elders, nobody here doubted that he had completed the 3 requirements from back then, and moreover absolutely completed them above quota. The second elder looked shocked at Tang San. The anger in his eyes clearly reduced a lot. How did you do it? Tang San answered very simply, with difficulty. Even though it was just 2 words, it made the hearts of all the clear sky school disciples on the mountain shiver simultaneously. How old was he? Just 20. These 9 spirit rings all over 10,000 years didn't just represent formidable strength, but at the same time also represented untold suffering. The anxiety in Tang Xiao's eyes was already completely obliterated. All that remained was intense excitement. In Tang San he seemed to see the unequaled sect master who led the clear sky school to move unhindered in the world back then, his grandfather Tang Chen. In Tang San, he also saw hope for the future of the clear sky school. Tang San slowly raised the sea god trident in his hand. The brand on his forehead was already bright. The red 7th spirit ring flashed, and instantly, his whole body turned completely golden blue. The second elder suddenly grew calm, speaking in a deep voice. Right, with your present strength, you really are qualified to speak to the sect. I withdraw my previous remarks, but your provocation to the authority of us 5 elders must still be punished. As long as you admit you were wrong now, we won't be too harsh, and treat you leniently. Tang San slowly held up the trident, speaking flatly. My father did nothing wrong back then, nor did I do anything wrong. I really wasn't challenging your authority as elders, but telling you, and every clansman, that everything our clear sky school has done for 20 years was really wrong. While speaking, a line of golden bright splendor shone from Tang San's forehead on that sea god's heart on the sea god trident. Instantly, the entire mountaintop brightened with 10,000 rays of golden light. The sea god trident finally blossomed with its proper radiance. The golden pattern seemed to come alive, golden light rippling like waves on the 3 large blades, glossy like mirrors. A terrifying aura abruptly exploded from Tang San, and a divine dignity suddenly pressed the imposing mana radiating from the 5 elders back into their bodies. At this moment, Tang San had already become the dazzling center of the mountaintop. The sea god trident, 108,000 jin heavy. Be careful, elders. While speaking, abruptly, all the surroundings turned golden blue. The eyes of the 5 elders had also lost sight of Tang San. A domain. Be careful, the second elder yelled. The 5 went flustered, and formed a pentagonal formation back to back, their auras practically instantly melting together. They all had title Douluo level strength. They all possessed the same spirit. They had cultivated together for many years, and had long since already forged the combined attack technique. Even if they faced the strongest enemy in the world, they absolutely wouldn't retreat. Hammer shakes the world. The second elder shouted, and the 5 simultaneously raised their clear sky hammers high. Instantly, 5 black lines of light converged, shooting at the sky, unexpectedly instantly breaking through Tang San's blue silver domain and rising high in the air. A multitude of golden threads appeared within the blue silver domain, but they were unable to invade the 5 elders' pentagonal formation. As that draining gold approached, it was peeled off by the shock of the black light. The blue silver domain's weakening effect also showed no results. Just at this moment, the pulse of the 5 elders accelerated. The originally blue world suddenly turned red, and Tang San also showed himself 30 meters away from them. The atmosphere was first sticky, and the next moment, the space around them froze. The air seemed to have become a faintly red crystal, and below Tang San's feet, red magic patterns rippled one after another. This was Tang San's 8th spirit ability, blue silver orb mirrors annihilation. Just as their bodies were about to be frozen, the 5 elders roared simultaneously. That black light shooting at the sky instantly reversed into a barrier, enveloping all of them completely. A resounding crack reverberated as the red color surrounding the barrier shattered, fine cracks seeming to spread far through the air. Influenced by the energy, Tang San gave a low muffled grunt, retreating a step. Only, even though he suffered the spirit ability backlash, for the most part he was still unharmed, having been transformed by so many spirit rings in the sea god's light. His body really was too resilient, to the point that even the backlash from his 8th spirit ability could only slow his breath. Tang San's attack still wasn't over. Yet another red ring of light rippled out, still with his 8th spirit ring flashing. The second elder's eyes focused. Careful. 100,000-year spirit ring's second spirit ability. While speaking, his 8th spirit ring grew dazzlingly bright, and the clear sky hammer in his hand swung brazenly towards Tang San. Instantly, the just broken air turned completely black, and immediately after, the second elder's clear sky hammer disappeared. That black color in the air condensed, completely turning into an energy form, but the clear sky hammer the size of a small mountain smashed directly towards Tang San. This ability was called Approaching Heaven Strike. Its attack power was even stronger than the second elder's 9th spirit ability. Among all the 5 elders, this attack was also the strongest. Approaching Heaven Strike's most overbearing point lay in the fact that this ability couldn't be dodged, only blocked. You would be targeted even with teleportation abilities. But the instant the Approaching Heaven Strike formed, the second elder suddenly saw 2 points of blue light, 2 points of light shooting out from Tang San's eyes. Even though the giant hammer in the sky was large, at this moment, the second elder clearly felt as if his brain was smashed by an even bigger hammer. With a miserable scream, his body fell back uncontrollably, blood shooting out of his eyes, nose, mouth and ears. Not only did it break the 5 elders' formation, even that completed Approaching Heaven Strike in the air was forcefully interrupted. And at this moment, the ripple originating from below Tang San's feet had already reached the 5 elders. With position second only to the second elder, the third elder instantly took over command, shouting, "Clear sky barrier." 4 clear sky hammers flew out simultaneously, the intense black light abruptly turning deep golden. The positions of the spirit rings that brightened on these 4 clear sky hammers were different. The strongest was an 8th spirit ability, the weakest only a 2nd spirit ability, but their effects were all the same. The already deep golden light covered the 5 elders practically, instantly, giving people a feeling as if their bodies had melted together with the clear sky hammers. Attacking them was equivalent to attacking their clear sky hammers. The red light spread, the blue silver orb devil's assimilation finally enveloping the 5 clear sky school elders, and they all without exception grew rigid, at the same time forcefully stunned for 3 seconds. But even though they were stunned, the feeling they gave off was like a steel rampart, basically not showing any gap. Any attack would be directly answered by their clear sky hammers. This was the power of the clear sky hammer. How could the name of world's #1 spirit be undeserved? Because of Tang San's clear sky domain, the 5 elders chose a tactic of defending and counterattacking. The blue silver domain couldn't affect them, and even though Tang San's attacks came one after the other, and even relied on the purple demoner to interrupt the second elder's attack, if this 3-second stun ran out, one could completely imagine how these 5 elders' next counterattack would be like raging waves and storms, swallowing Tang San. In terms of true strength, even though Tang San possessed numerous abilities, and even the sea god trident, in a contest of strength, he alone still couldn't compare to the 5 title Douluo, especially when these 5 were all clear sky school elders, possessing the world's #1 sex inherited spirit, the clear sky hammer. Tang San moved. he didn't launch any attacks on the 5 elders, since he could clearly sense that no matter which spirit ability he attacked the 5 elders with, it would confront the unified defense of all 5. 3 seconds passed very quickly, but besides attacking, there was still a lot Tang San could do. The sea god trident quietly swept out, circles of golden light rippling out from the trident's main blade. The rings were large and small, seemingly in disorder, but yet seeming as if they rippled into the air following some natural law. They pierced through the air, surrounding the 5 elders. Just at this moment, behind Tang San appeared a giant golden figure. The intense light washed his body as if in gold. It was a divine and dignified presence, even more filled with mystery and depth. One by one, those golden rings of light cut through the air, then quietly fell, neatly enveloping the bodies of the 5 elders. Shocking the Clear Sky School people was that the 5 elders combined defense. Clear Sky Unity didn't do anything to stop it, and could only let the golden rings fall on them one after another. Indeed, this was the first of the sea god's absolute skill. Golden 13 halberds, Tang San had inherited. Unfixed storm. Once those rings of light, sparkling with golden ripples, had enveloped the 5 elders, the previous blue-silver orchid devil's assimilation effect disappeared. Even though the 5 elders came to their senses, in the next moment, they instantly felt that they were unable to budge a hair. Even though they still maintained the power of the Clear Sky Unity, this time, they clearly felt an intense sense of danger. As a control-type spirit master, Tang San would never be careful about battlefield control. The reason why he didn't directly use Unfixed Storm was mainly because the sea god's memories told him back then that the success rate of Unfixed Storm was lower the stronger the opponent was. But at worst it would be 50%. Right now, confronting 5 title Douluo with Clear Sky hammers, even if Tang San had a 70% or more chance of completely locking them down, he still first used the blue-silver orchid devil's assimilation. Thus, how could the 5 stunned elders block the unified offense and defense of Unfixed Storm? 8 seconds. This time, Tang San's Unfixed Storm had an 8-second duration on the elders. 3 seconds and 8 seconds. That was 2 completely different concepts. In 3 seconds, a spirit master could at most complete 1 formidable attack, but 8 seconds could let a spirit master easily complete 2, even 3 abilities. In a fight with title Douluo, the 8-second Unfixed Storm basically already settled the outcome of the battle. How many people could have BB Dong's undying body? Right now, Tang San's expression had also become serious. This was his first time using the 3 great divine abilities the sea god bestowed him in battle. At the same time, it was also his only chance of defeating the 5 elders. The golden figure leapt up, turning into countless golden lights, overflowing the sky with polearm shadows, like dazzling clouds of golden light that directly enveloped the golden elders. This was the golden 13 halberd's third move, millennial space. Back when the sea god's brand used this move, it couldn't show its true effect due to lacking energy. When Tang San used it now, he immediately experienced how terrifying it was. In practically an instant, more than half of his spirit power and mental strength drained away. Urged by the sea god's light, it all flowed into the sea god trident. On the mountaintop, everything then turned golden. Even the mist on the mountain seemed to become part of Tang San's attack, turning into a large swath of golden light mist, rippling. The sea god trident in Tang San's hand then disappeared. That large swath of light mist flowed up to the 5 elders like mercury. All the golden clouds practically instantly exploded, violently colliding with the 5 elders' clear sky union. The deadly explosion made the sky and earth tremble. All the clear sky school disciples quickly retreated under Tang Jia's command, but the sea god's power didn't scatter, instead remaining completely focused on the 5 elders. The united defense formed by their clear sky hammers tottered in the attack like assaulted by a storm. The first crack appeared, and it was like an infection. Immediately, one crack after another quickly showed in that formidable defense in the violent golden cloud explosion, like an eggshell breaking. Boom! With a final explosive crack, the 5 elders were thrown out simultaneously. Their combined defense was finally broken. In the end, the power of the sea god trident's millennial space wasn't something their passive defense could take, but that they could block for so long already marked them as a lot stronger than the spirit whole title Douluo from back then. In fact, what Tang San now used was the complete edition millennial space. He just didn't truly have the sea god's divine force right now. There was still a gap from when the sea god used it. The sea god trident reappeared in Tang San's grasp. Only, he still didn't continue using the golden 13 halberd's third move. One goes without return, and rather moved the trident with his left hand, his right hand storing strength and grabbing in the air towards the 5 elders. After a full 4 seconds of storing power, an enormous iron claw shape appeared in midair, unexpectedly grabbing the 5 scattered elders' bodies together from where they had been thrown. The 5 were now still in that 8-second restrained time from the unfixed storm, basically powerless to resist. They could only urge the spirit power within their bodies, but they still didn't have the space to catch their breath from the millennial space's explosion. Their united clear sky defense could now only become single targeted. After that giant iron claw grabbed them, the 5 elders suddenly just felt a pain emerge from the depths of their souls. All their thoughts seemed to slow, and everything they saw seemed to become slow motion. The differences between spirit ring and spirit bone abilities lay in the fact that spirit ring abilities were new abilities formed from the killed spirit beast's abilities combining with the spirit master's spirit, while spirit bone abilities were the spirit beast's strongest capability. What Tang San used now was one of the sky blue ball python's right arm bone abilities, sky blue slowing god claw, as the supplementary ability of the sky blue ball python's right arm bone. When facing the sky blue slowing god claw, physical defense was ineffective. Targeting, pursuing, if hit, the grab person's 6 senses and physical movements would all slow tenfold. This ability was noiseless and traceless, without causing any energy fluctuations. Its effects lay in restraint. Being grabbed by it, even the strongest experts, unless they had a way to instantly break it, there was no difference from death. This was Tang San's present understanding of this ability. As for further uses and effects, as well as practical applications, was something that still needed constant combat trials to comprehend. The sky blue ball python and the titan giant ape were worthy of being the strongest forest kings. Just the spirit bone abilities they gave Tang San were one control and one burst attack, endlessly formidable. A spirit bone abilities might not be equal to spirit ring abilities, but its greatest advantage was in spirit power consumption, especially 100,000 year spirit bones needed only a fifth of the spirit power of an equally leveled spirit ring ability. Otherwise, how could Tang San close to infinitely have used Xiao Wu's spirit bone teleportation ability? Unfortunately, he no longer had it. Breaking the sky blue slowing god claw wasn't difficult. All that was required was using an at least 8th spirit ability energy attack and it would instantly collapse. Only, when it collapsed, any spirit abilities in contact with it would also disappear. But the 5 elders were still being restrained. How could they break this spirit ability? The cyan light faded, and each of the 5 elders' 6 senses and movements sank into a 10 times slowed state.